Let me start by my first area that I'm supposed to address, and that is identity, wellness, mental wellness, and confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, identity is an issue that has bedeviled so many of the youths today. Identity has made young people to lose direction. Lack of identity has made people that were having very great potential to lose their lives. I want to bring to your attention that 3 days ago, a young girl that was very promising in her secondary education had gone out together with other friends to party. And when they went to party, they started drinking alcohol. And in their drunkenness, she felt tipsy and then lost her identity and then got into a certain activity that when she was informed with the videos leaking out of the things she did, she could not withstand being herself and facing the society as well as the parents. It forced this young girl to commit suicide. I want you to understand what lack of identity can bring to you. When you do not have an identity, that is when you will fall into the trap of influence of the friends. In my Form 2, I had a very good friend of mine. And this friend would come and call me out of class before breaks. And we go behind the classrooms and he removes a letter from the pocket. When he removes the letter from the pocket, he would show me a letter that has been done to him by a lady from the nearest boarding girls' high school. I would want to tell you how I would blame myself for not having a girlfriend that could as well write to me letters. I asked him, could you also go and introduce me to some of these ladies so that I can also be receiving the letters? In fact, he was very glad to do so because partly that could have been the reason as to why he was introducing me into such kind of event. We went one day. We closed the school just a day before the closing of the boarding schools. And then we went to that school. It's called Mawego Girls High School. So we go to Mawego Girls High School. So we go pretending that we are going to church. So we go to church hoping that we are going to meet these ladies. Apparently the day we were going, they had changed the schedule. That these ladies would come to worship first, go is when the rest come. So we missed them. So we said we will go another day that they are going to be closing the school. And so we walk. We go, we shave our hairs very nicely. We used to have a certain style of shaving that would make us appear handsome. And then we go. And then we used to go and buy a certain, type of perfume. Although the problem with those perfumes is that once you put them on, flies will be following you everywhere. So after putting on the perfumes, we would go and wait for these ladies at the gate. So after waiting for the ladies at the gate, then we would identify the target. After identifying the target, now this man tells me, now you walk with this one, and then he walks with the other one. The problem with me is that he didn't tell me that even after, as we are walking, what do we say? So one thing that I was good at, I was good in class. And I was good. In fact, my performance from high school, if you look for my classmates, they will tell you that I was number one all through, from Form 1 to Form 4. So I thought being academic-oriented would give me a leverage without even talking. So I would talk much about academics, and I would see these people are very bored. By the time we reach a distance of about 5-10 kilometers, we have talked CRE, we have talked mathematics, we have talked chemistry, we have addressed so many issues. But I realized that the persons that I'm talking to are not interested so far in that. Then when we finish and then we meet with my friends, he asks me, how did it go? I say that we talked so much about so many subjects, but then he's asking me, what about the main subject? I didn't know how to introduce the main subject. My friend started holding my hand on how to tell me so that I could know how to do these things. Why was I looking for the knowledge and understanding on how to do these things? It is because I felt my friend was far much better than me. One, he was brown. You know, in the Luo region, a brown lady and a brown gentleman can automatically be described as handsome. Even if in the normal standards they may not meet the standards of being described as so. And so this young man was very brown. So he used to admire, to be admired so much by the ladies. So even when I walk with him, you would even see. And sometimes I felt like my esteem was going down. So identity is a very serious component of a makeup of an individual. You are seated here, but then you are stressed up as a young person. Why? Because you feel that people do not want to sit next to you. That is one. Secondly, you do not have friends that you think you should be having. That is two. Three, you think that you're not wielding enough influence within your cycle. So it makes you to become stressed up because of lack of identity. And that is why I want to bring to you the aspect of our identity in let me give it 4 components of self-identity. And the first component, I will say, is personality. And the second component, I would say, is potential. And the third component, I would say, is purpose. And the last component, I would say, is passion. What did I say to be the first one? Personality. Second, potential. Third, purpose. Last, passion. So let us look at these 4 aspects of getting to identify yourself. Now let me start with personality. Understanding your personality is the very first step of self-identity. What did I say? Understanding your personality is the very first step of self-identity. If you cannot understand your personality, then forever in life you will be grappling and suffering from what people say here, what you think here, what people think about you, how your parents talk about you, how outsiders talk about you. You will always have a problem with who you are. Have you ever heard of those people that do not sleep when they hear somebody say something negative about them? Haven't you? You've seen those people that do not take it lightly when you say anything about them that is maybe negative. If you have not been able to understand yourself, you will always find it difficult to know that people can talk about you, people can think negatively about you, people can always see you as a bad person, yet you are not a bad one. In class, there are people that have been isolated because maybe when somebody does something wrong, they would go and report to the teacher. In the workplace, there are people that have fallen in the wrong hands of their colleagues simply because they have been straightforward and doing things in the right way. And their colleagues think they should do things in the other way. There are people that have been left alone, not because they were wrong in what they did, but simply because they did not move with the majority in whatever they were supposed to be doing. Let me tell you, in the very first time that I finished my my high school, I had scored all subjects A-plane. And I went to teach in a girls' high school. As a teacher, I had my morals and my standards. But in the school, there were also expectations from the principal, the teachers and the subordinate staffs. As if that was not enough. Now the students as well had their expectations about me. And one thing that had been very common in this school was that there were certain elements of relationship that emerged between the teachers and the students, such that if you are a young teacher, you would realize that there were those people that were having some hidden relationship with the students. But one thing that I told myself, that I would not get engaged with a student who is going to school in any kind of intimate or opposite sex relationship affair. So when I was in that school, my strictness resulted into isolation. I was isolated, number one, by some of the clique of the students that thought I was not playing along. I was isolated by a section of teachers that felt that I was pretending to be good. I was isolated by certain sections of the members in this school because of my stand. In your identity, you will be isolated. You will think that something is not right with you. But I want to give you an assurance today that always stand your ground in order to understand, in order to know and defend your identity. So, when we are talking about your personality, I will bring to you 4 types of personality temperaments and their characteristics that can also help you to know and understand deeply who you are. First, we have what we call the sanguine temperament. Secondly, we have what we call the choleric temperament. Thirdly, we have what we call the melancholic temperament. And fourthly, we have what we call the phlegmatic temperament. How many did I call? How many temperaments did I mention? 4. First one, sanguine. Second, yeah, choleric. Third, melancholic. Fourth, phlegmatic. Now, some of you, when you fall under this personality, you start to admire another personality or another temperament. And then it makes you to think that you are not normal. And let me start with the sanguine personality. A sanguine personality is a person who is outgoing, is a person who is supportive, is a person who is, very much sociable. He is able to make friends and network easily. A person who is sanguine will always say things the way they are, and that brings them also to the point of being assertive. Being assertive sometimes may make people to mistake them to be very rude. But they are very assertive. Sanguine people, wherever people are, they always want to stand out. They would always want to be the ones that are being seen. And sometimes many people may make such kind of statements. We anakuanga na kierere. Have you ever heard such kind of statements about others? Eh? Hello? Are we together? Tunaelewana? Have we ever had such kind of statements being said about others? Huyu anakuanga na kierere sana. Kumbe, the personality temperament is sanguine personality. Such kind of an individual may in many occasions be found to be the one who can be in charge of a group. So they are also able to make very good leaders because their mobilization skills are very high. They are able to mobilize and be able to make things go the way they want. The second personality that I've talked about is called choleric personality, correct? Or what? Which one did I talk about? The second one? I talked about choleric. So, choleric personality, these are people that are always determined and dominant. Determined and dominant. You know, such kind of a people, when they are in a place where others are, they don't talk a lot. They also don't, put a lot of pressure in whatever. But when they talk, everybody would want to follow what they have said. Have you ever seen those people, maybe a group of individuals, kuna kajamaa haongeangi sana, but he's very influential. If he says, bana, hii hatuendi, hiyo naye hatuwezi fanya. Unapata tu kila mtu anasema, hii hatufanyi. Yeah, hii hatuwezi fanya, hiyo. In fact, they are very good organizers of strike. They can even say that, no, this one, and they will organize and then they will not appear to be the organizers. You will not even see them in front. Choleric people are always self-driven. They always know what they want. They always understand, what it means to be confident, motivating. But one thing that you have to understand with choleric people is that they are very intolerant. They do not tolerate a number of things, nonsense, they don't. Then they are inflexible. Once they have put their mind here, that is where they want to go. You cannot be able to change them. Then they are very demanding and aggressive. And apart from that one, they are always overloaded and stressed up. You meet them, sometimes you realize that they are doing a lot of things at the same time. That is choleric personalities, temperament. So you have to understand, where am I? The third one is called what? Melancholic. These are people that are always conscientious and cautious. Conscientious and cautious, but very organized. These are people that when it comes to career, they can always make very good employees. And apart from making good employees, they can make very good managers. Because you simply need to tell them this direction. Once you tell them it is left, if anybody comes with right, they will never listen. They make very good watchmen. Tell them that this gate is supposed to be locked and it should not be opened until we give you the go-ahead. They will do that exactly. Melancholic. Melancholic people are also people that are, we can say, are very detail-oriented. They would want to know that what is it after that, thereafter, then. And you see, once they have understood what you are saying, they will take that one as the gospel truth. So for a melancholic personality, you change the story, they get mad and they get annoyed. You change your previous statement, you already throw them into disarray. You change instructions, they become confused. So that is why sometimes a teacher may say that we want you to get to class by 7. So even if other things were happening that were much more important by more than getting to the class, a melancholic person would rather stop and get to class by 7 because that is what the instructions says. Are we together? Is somebody learning about himself or herself here? Are you starting to understand who you are? I told you the problem of not understanding who you are is that it is going to give you problems. It is going to make you to start misunderstanding who you are, and that misunderstanding of who you are is what is going to cause your downfall. So make sure that you know, where do I fall as a person? And so they are always very considerate and creative. Melancholic people, very considerate and creative. And lastly, these people are always very thoughtful. When you tell them something, they will always think through about it. In fact, a melancholic person, if he tells you that, let me go and think about it, they would go and sleep, looking upwards. They think, they turn left, they turn right. When they come up with a decision thereafter, remember, you will not change their mind out of that decision because they have thought and thought about it. Those people do not make very good investors because they are not risk takers. They do not want anything that is going to risk. So long as they are detailed oriented, they will check that if I am going to put my money in this bank, and maybe we are talking about 5,000 shillings only. What if this bank falls? He's forgetting that the bank is having billions and billions of shillings, but he's worried about the 5,000 shillings. Detailed oriented. And in that matter, they are always not making very good investors. These people are always very perfectionists. You do things in the wrong way, you wrong them completely. They are discontent. They are never always satisfied with things. In fact, if your mother is a melancholic person, be sure that you will grow up a very perfect child. If you have a dad who is a perfectionist, I'm telling you, there is no room for mistakes in that house. I'm telling you this, my wife is a melancholic. Things are supposed to be where they were. In fact, change the position of her roll-on. You've disorganized her completely. You've made things worse. Like, who told you to remove it there? Why did you remove it? And it becomes a big issue because that is her personality orientation. Melancholy. Very organized people. They would not want to be, to be disoriented. And these people are always anxious and talent visioned. Tunnel vision is someone that he wants to see up to the very end. You want me to become a doctor so that I can treat people. Thereafter, I can get money. How much? You get it? She wants to get it to the very end. Kabisa. Kama hawezi ona huko mwisho, hiyo kita mwelewani. Now that is that personality. Now that you must know whether are you there or not. And then the last personality is called phlegmatic. Correct? Now phlegmatic are very steady and supportive people. They are very calm, composed and diplomatic. There are people that are always in the middle. They don't want to wrong you. If you've done something wrong, they would not want to say it because they feel that you're going to feel annoyed. So if you're one of them, get to know that that's who you are. These are people that are always rational and they are accepting. You tell him, Bana, we called you for this talk, but what we want you to do is that you don't come. Let's just find a way on how we can. They will accept it. These are people that are always contented. They are very reliable and very consistent, and they are very patient. Most firstborns are exhibiting such characters. Hello? How many firstborns are in the house? Carry up your hands. Firstborns. Yes. This thing that I'm saying, you will always find majority domiciled in firstborns. They are always very reliable. They are always people that are diplomatic and they just want things done for the success. They are always selfless. They don't want to consider themselves first. They want people to benefit so that they can benefit later. They won't have a problem when you go first, they come second. That kind of phlegmatic persons. What happens is that these people, they always lack certain type of drive because they feel that it's about others first before them. Then their ambition sometimes is a little bit low. But others have also learned to become very ambitious due to the fact that they are firstborns. They are people that sometimes are socially shy. They don't want to make, friends. And even if they make friends, they are not very much to make the first move. Then they are always very, permissive. Ukiuliza hii, okay, sawa. Ukitaka hii, okay, well, it's okay. They don't have that resisting capability. They want to tell you no, but they can't tell you no. These are the people that tell you, sawa, let's do it. Then anaenda, then anakuandikia text in the midnight. Sorry, it was not possible. Because they didn't have the guts to tell you the no. Phlegmatic persons. That is who they are. So identity in your personality will give you the greatest influence of your life if you ever want to succeed in anything that you'd want to do. If you understand who you are, you will not fight in school. You will not fight with your neighbor. You will not fight with your spouse. A person who understands himself or herself will not lift a finger to slap another one thinking that he's teaching that person what we call a lesson. Never. Because of understanding who you are. When you are aware about yourself, you will not get into betting. I was reading a story this morning where a young man who is at Starehe Boys High School, and this young man is in Form 3. The school has been closed and now the schools are opening. He's being given school fees to go and pay. Now before being given the school fees, he asks of the brothers, help me with 2K. You know, a high school student asking for 2,000 shillings. You see, now you have to really get worried. 2,000. Then after being given the 2,000, after 3 days, he's asking for 5,000. So it's like, hey, what is happening? Only to come and realize that this boy has gotten into what we call aviator. I don't know how aviator works. I'm a finance consultant, and every time that we do what we call financial modeling, and also revenue model for companies, and advising them on matters of their technological and systems makeup, we have to understand that what possibility are we having in this system bringing money? What possibility are we having that this system is not going to make the owner to lose money? And so when we are creating or advising on the creation of such algorithms, you must be able to program the algorithm in such a manner that whatever comes in, there must be a certain thing, a percentage that is being retained. Meaning, nobody, in no circumstance, can everybody win. Correct? And you bring in the aspect of possibility and probability. So, aviator, who tells you that you are the one who is going to win? Number two, you can never earn money and become rich through betting. Even if you think somebody has ever made it through that. Don't think that. If I were to teach you financial intelligence, I would have told you that there are 5 ways through which you can attract money to your end. And that the first one is salary. The second one is business. The third one is stealing. The fourth one is borrowing. And the last one is inheritance. Betting is never a business. It is never a service. And it is never a source of an income. So get to understand that that is a behavior for the people that have not been able to understand who they are. I'm done with personality. The second type of P that I brought to you was called potential. Every child that is given birth to has got his hands closed like this. Meaning, you have got something that you have carried in your hands when you're born. I keep saying this, that the day I was born, I was the only person who was crying in that room. My mother, the midwives, and the doctors were worried before I was born. They were worried because they never knew whether it was going to be the child that they were waiting for was going to be born. And so they did everything possible. They brought me out. And when they brought me out, I wasn't crying like I should have cried. I was slapped, both from the back and from the bottom and from the front, so that I could cry. Immediately, I cried. Everybody else started laughing. That there could be a circumstance in your life that you will be the only person crying as everybody else are laughing. So I say, if I can cry when everybody else is laughing, I want to work on my potential to a point whereby I achieve all the goals. I get everything I want. I transform the society. I bring positive influence. I make people to believe in themselves such that the day I die, I be the only person that is laughing while everybody else around me is crying. Hallelujah. That is the essence of understanding your potential. If there are 2 days that are important in your life, are the days that you were born and the day you knew why. Today I want to influence you, my guys, that you have to understand why were you born. And for you to do this, you must help me get to know your potential in 3 ways. And the first way is self-reflection. And the second way is exploration. And the third way is networking. What did I say? The first way is self-reflection. The second way is exploration. And the last way is networking. You know, if you can't sit down at any given moment, watu wangu, ukae chini ujifikirie maisha, then you may not be able to achieve exactly what you want. And now let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story. When I was in class 6, I had faced a lot of trouble at home. Having lost my parents many, many years back when I was in class 3. And so, I am growing up, but without parents. It reached a point whereby life became unbearable to me at home. And the option I had was to run away from home. I ran away from home, and I went to the nearest town, which was like about 100 kilometers away. In this town, I started sleeping on the streets. And I started eating what was left. And I started experiencing real life of a street urchin. It became so hard. But I said that instead of facing the difficulty and the problems from where I've come from, I would rather stay within the streets. As I stayed in the streets, I had several moments of self-reflection. And I remember one day, I got a lady and I told her that if she could take me to go and live with me, I would be able to take care of her flock. So in the morning, I would take, as I meet people of my age going to school. It was a moment of self-reflection. I would take this flock and sit by the riverside. And I would take stones. As I throw into the river, I see the way they splash. And I realized that after throwing them, nobody would ever know that there was a stone that existed here. And after throwing them in the water, they go and get lost completely. When I was throwing these stones, I would look at myself as the life of that stone. And I would say, having come to the streets, it's like I've immersed myself in water. Nobody would ever think that I ever existed. That moment of self-reflection started making me to imagine myself going back home, myself going back to school, and reading very hard to become successful. And when I started doing self-reflection, I remember one of my relatives who had been on the hunt looking for me from each town to each town, left, right, and center, one day got an opportunity to bump onto me. And she got hold of me. And she told me that I'm going with you. I'm not going to leave you behind. And so, the lady took me. She talked to me. She told me. And while she was talking to me, I had had a moment of self-reflection. And when I went back to school, I had got only one goal: to succeed, and to succeed alone. There was nothing else. I passed my class 8. I did not go to the school I was called. I was called to a school by the name Agorosare High School. Agorosare High School, pretty, is one of the best schools around. But I went to the CDF school next to our home. Despite going to the CDF school next to our home, I still managed to pass my exams and come to the University of Nairobi. The power of self-reflection is what I am explaining. If you explore your reflection keenly, it will take you to the next level that I've said, called exploration. Explore much more about your goals, about your self-beliefs. Explore on what you'd want. When you want to understand your potential, get to ask people and explore various potentials that you can know. Get to understand, is this my potential? A number of times, I've had engagements with people. And when I engage on certain fora, they tell me, Bwana, you are so good in this thing. And when they say that, that is a moment of exploration. I explore to understand whatever I am good in. You could be in high school today, and you are a footballer. Explore and get to know whether is that your potential. You could also be a leader in maybe the church. Explore whether leadership is your potential. You could be someone who knows how to network and talk and sociable and mediate. Explore whether that is your potential. And once you are done, get the right people to network with. Networking is the ultimate end of determining your worth, since they say your network is equivalent to your net worth. Are we together? Yes. So, self-reflection. Number 2, exploration. Number 3, I didn't get it. Networking. So, I'm done with potential. Number 3, we said was purpose. You see, each and every one of you, you have got a reason as to why you are born. The day that reason ends is the day you will exit. And so, when you see even other people die young, the purpose to which God created them, they have already fulfilled. The problem that I have with the majority of us today, we tend to misplace enjoyment together with purpose. Somebody says that I like dancing. And I'll talk about it in the passion aspect. I like dancing. So I dance. So the question is, what is your purpose with regards to dancing? Oh, I like, I just like stories. When I sit down and people say stories, and they say stories, I like it. But what is the purpose? You must be able to find a way in which you can convert whatever the thing that you like into creating a purpose. Storytelling is a very great component of transforming the society. That if you can be able to storytell of the things that the great people have been able to do, you will be in a position to transform a life. Hallelujah. When you know your purpose, you will become a champion. Say, I am a champion. Can you say, I am a champion? Now, I want us to get serious and say, I am a champion. Now, you see, a champion is someone who has been able to conquer the world in every possibility and has emerged the champion. And so, when you understand your purpose, it will be very easier for you to succeed and become a great man in everything that you do. The last section is called the passion. Passion is something that you do out of self-will. Passion is getting to select, organize, and actually display the things that makes you happy. When you are passionate about teaching, you will teach even without being paid. When you are passionate about, volleyball, you will be playing volleyball even if you are alone in the field. When you are passionate about reading culture, you will be reading even when you are alone. I remember after finishing Form 4, when I went to repeat at Oriwo Boys High School, we finished Form 4, but we were not allowed to get out fast until we waited for the music people to finish. Part of the waiting was to give them the morale. When they would have seen people gone, they were not going to stay serious and revise for the exams. So we had to stay like about 1 week more as we wait for them to finish. Now, do you know that even after finishing the KCSE, and I was sure I was going to pass, I was still feeling good reading. I would still feel good going to that biology book Form 2 and reading about the hormones. I would still feel good going to chemistry and reading about the periodic table. I would still feel good reading photosynthesis and getting to know the stages of photosynthesis, the light and the dark stage, the stroma, the chlorophyll, and the granum sections where the photosynthesis takes place. The reason I loved reading, I read those things, I was in Form 2, 2006. That is how many years now? That's 19 years back. But I can still remember, some of the items that I read in that book because I loved reading. So when you are passionate about something, you will do it even if nobody notices that you are doing it. When you are in church, you could be a passionate usher. You are doing it even if nobody recognizes that you're doing it. If you are a singer, You sing, even if your voice runs out, you will still not feel it until you are reminded that you see your voice has run out due to singing. Passion. Passion is what creates what we call innovation. When you are passionate about something, you will become innovative. And when you are innovative, it makes you now to start following the route of becoming an inventor. Passionate. Have you discovered your passion? Have you known what you love? Get to understand what you love. If you understand this, you will never make a mistake of doing other things to make other people happy. Young people, ladies and gentlemen, don't get into drugs. Don't get into influence of sex before marriage. Don't get into influence of watching pornography. Don't get into the influence of doing masturbation. Make sure that you understand your purpose. Make sure that you understand your potential. Make sure that you understand your passion. And make sure that you understand your personality. All this shall be able to make you to focus on creating an individual that is all-rounded to succeed and become great. Hallelujah. Are you getting me? Uh-huh. As I finish, I want you to open the book of 2 Peter, chapter 1, verses 8. Actually, chapter 1, verses 5. 2 Peter, chapter 1, verses 5. And somebody who is having the Bible can read for me. And I want you to read it slowly by slowly. That is the verse I'm going to finish with. So that we can see how we can build our character. How we can build our character. Somebody has not gotten it. It says, 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 5. Okay, it says, and to this add knowledge. You add knowledge. And to the knowledge add virtue. And to the virtue add what? Add friendliness. And add patience. You people do not have the Bible. No one has gotten that. Read it for me kindly. Yes. Endelea. Into your goodness add to knowledge. So the first thing is goodness. Endelea tu. To your knowledge, accept, control. You're saying self-control, correct? Proceed. Godliness, Yeah. Love. From my version, it says this. And besides this, giving all diligence. There is no way a young person is ever going to grow to become full of character without diligence. You must be diligent. You're told to do your assignments, become diligent. You're told you're supposed to be able to go and do certain tasks, become diligent. When you are supposed to deliver into your workplace, become diligent. And it says, add your faith, virtue. In everything you're going to do, make sure that you add your faith and virtue. Become someone that is believing onto the things to come. So that at the end of the day, the goodliness will make you to develop a good character. And to virtue, add knowledge. How do we get knowledge? Knowledge we get through listening. We get through knowledge through reading. And we get knowledge through even the way we interact with the people. And so, if you want to get knowledge, I normally say this in my talks, that there are 5 foundational levels of education that a person should be able to have in his life in order to approach the ladder of greatness. And that 5 foundational level of education, number 1 is called religious education. Number 2 is called personal education. Number 3 is called professional market education. Number 4 is called academic education. And then number 5 is called financial education. You can never become great without understanding the 5 foundational aspects of education that can create you to become a better version of yourself. And so thinking about religious education, acknowledge God, acknowledge the Creator. Number 2, personal education. I've taught you about personality, correct? Number 3, professional education. Make sure that you understand the business within your profession. If you are a doctor, what is the business in your profession? If you are a teacher, what is the business within the profession that you are in? If you are probably an architecture, apart from being employed, which business can you derive from that? That is what we call market education or professional education. And then number 4, you now understand what we call academic education. Many of you may not be able to understand this, but academic education should help you perform or receive 4 things. Number 1, the knowledge of how to read. And number 2, the knowledge on how to write. And number 3, the knowledge on how to think. And then number 4, the knowledge on how to calculate. If you cannot be able to gain those 4 areas, types of knowledge, then it's very difficult for academic education to help you in your life. And then the last one is financial education, learning the aspects of attracting, managing, and multiplying the money that you shall have been given. You will be taught on financial intelligence by another speaker. But get to understand those are 5 foundational aspects of education that an individual should be able to have. So gaining knowledge, very key in terms of ensuring that you do that. As that verse continues, it says that, and then to the knowledge, temperance. Many of us want to do things too much. You want to watch DJ Afro, Makosa. Up to saa 10 asubuhi. You want to, even sometimes when it comes to riding a bike, you want to do things excessively. You must exercise temperance. Temperance is moderation aspect that will make you to be conscious before deeply emerging into something. And then, into temperance, make patience. Today, young people want to make money in a snap of a finger. You want to make money. Be patient. Be patient with your education. Be patient with your knowledge. Be patient with your growth. Be patient with everything that you're doing. You will understand the essence of patience, since they say, patience pays. Then from there, look at it from patience, godliness. Godliness, become godly. And then into godliness, brotherly kindness. And brotherly kindness, embrace charity. Ladies and gentlemen, a talk that goes beyond 1 hour is always boring. I don't want to surpass, because I promised that I would leave you exactly at 1 to go for your lunch. But develop a character so that by the time you're going to be judged, you're not going to be judged by the color of your skin, but you're going to be judged by the content of your character. It has been said that the ability to achieve your goals do not just come from the physical strength, but as Mahatma Gandhi says, it comes from indomitable will. The will to succeed and to become better. That will that can create you to become a better version of yourself is the will that you should be able to follow. Let me finish by this particular story, that a certain hen has been born from an egg. And the hen does not have wings. The hen does not have hair. It is cold. The cold has come, and the wind has come. It is being blown, and it is being seen as there is nothing that this hen can be able to become. This hen is being despised by other hen, seeing that it is looking like a hen, but again, it is looking like meat. So other hens start to poke it. And then, once upon a time, as time grows by, this hen starts to develop hair. It starts to develop hair all over the body. And when it was starting as if nothing was going to happen to it that was positive. But as time goes by, it starts to develop hair. And when it is developing the hair, it starts also to grow in size. This hen is soon discovered that it is not just a hen. Actually, it is a male one. And a male one is called a is called a cock. So it is somehow a small cock that is trying to come up. Very soon, this cock starts to develop feathers that are heavy on the wings. And the feathers that are heavy on the wings are making it to start looking bigger and better. And as time goes by, people start to recognize that this is just not now a hen, a small, chick, but it is now a cock. It starts now to crow. When it crows, the whole village starts to wake up. And they say, which hen is that is crowing? And they realize that it was that small one that they thought was useless. Within a very short while, the cock becomes big one. And he starts now to make other hens, to lay eggs and start making a kingdom. And that hen is now becoming a very serious and seasoned empire. And that is the empire I'm seeing seated here. Today, you could be not having the hairs, but I'm telling you, you are going to grow into a full cock. Hallelujah. May God bless you in Jesus' name.